Hi, it's Bridget. Welcome to Above Life Channel. The purpose here is to inspire your spirit and to fill you with hope. So today we're going to have a conversation with Prince in the afterlife. Remember I told you last week that there were a couple people. It was Robin Williams and Prince. Well, let me tell you, Prince has been making his presence known this week. I was in a thrift store and there was Prince music. I was driving and there was Prince music. I was at the grocery store and there was Prince music. I was talking to a friend and she was telling me how she was hearing some Prince vibes, and on and on and on. And this has been a very a developing, unfolding week for me personally as I have stepped into some new things, trying some new things on for size again. And as I've been doing that, I had Prince come right in, like in my face. And it probably started over a week ago, but this week it really culminated, and it's super in alignment with a job, actually. And so I applied for a job, and a part-time job, just to have kind of a different, I'm just open, okay, to a different experience and have some kind of financial alignment and some consistency, for work. And it just felt like a good time to do that, to dip my toe in that water again. And so right out of the gate, I got a job interview. It was great. It was a great position. The people were amazing. I got invited in, met the whole team, did the whole thing. And then I knew I would get a job offer, and I did. And the night before I got the job offer, it turns out that another job opportunity just happened to pop up for me as well. And I was like, what? Doing the exact same thing that I had done before in another lifetime. Seems like another lifetime, a lifetime ago, at the exact same place that I had worked before. And I was just like, wow. And in the past, I would have not even considered that. And now I'm like, wow, after the whole COVID thing and all that, just things change and you just start to think about life in a different way, and other things become important, and people in your life matter a lot, and relationships matter a lot, and just life experience, and travel, and just health and other ththings just become super important. And as an entrepreneur, you really have to balance that stuff, because you don't have health insurance, you don't have 401k, all that stuff is really, you really have to be driven at a way that you have to be a really high performer, I think. And it can be joyful and incredible, but it's also a lot of time. And I intend to still, of course, do my work. I'm looking to work part-time, so there'll be a balance here. But so that was what was happening. And Prince was right there, right in the thick of it. I'm like, what are you trying to tell me? What are you trying to tell me? And at the same time, I got really interested in books, specifically poetry. All of a sudden I wanted to read poetry books. So I went to the bookstore and I got some poetry books, and just really interested. I've always been interested in words, but his lyrics, his messages, the channeling I've done with him, that's why Above Life Channel exists. If you didn't know that, it's because of Prince from 2016. That really kind of opened up this whole stream of work for me in this way. I've been a psychic and a medium, and then an intuitive life coach for years. This year on October 1st, it'll be 18 years. 18 years? That's almost 2 decades, okay? So, but the channeling, the public channeling, especially with afterlife celebrity guests, didn't start till 2016 with Prince. So, but 2016, that was a while ago. That was like 6 years ago. That was a while ago. And so because of that, Above Life Channel exists. So if you're new here, you're probably annoyed because I'm not channeling yet. But the style I have on Above Life Channel is conversational, because the point is for you to recognize that there's not somebody else that you get to turn to as an expert. you get to know that intuition is accessible and available to you, and that means you can tap in to resources from your favorite celebrity guests, or from deities or saints or god goddess aspects or totem animals or archangels or your loved ones in the afterlife. You can do that too. It's natural and it's normal, thus the conversation style here. All right, so let's have a conversation with Prince. Can you come in, please? He says, oh, so now we talking. Now we talking. Yes, I just went through Minneapolis St. Paul Airport because you know I'm on location, right? I'm on the coast now. So I just went through MSP and there's a Prince store there. There's a Prince store there in the airport, okay? Airport Prince store, okay? You don't have to go to Paisley Park to get your Prince gear. Airport Paisley, airport store. He's like, oh, now we talking. Yes, so what's the deal with, okay, I specifically want to talk about the song Thieves in the Temple because that's the song that's been coming into my head. Now, let me just say, we started with You Put Little Red Corvette into my head, and you and I, Prince, we both know what that was about. I know what that song was about. I know what that song was about. Like, I know why he gave that to me. I know, and I appreciate it. And also, then, 1999, When Doves Cry, there was Purple Rain, of course, Purple Rain, and Kiss. And then when I was walking, Thieves in the Temple, speaking of words, speaking of poetry, Thieves in the Temple, let's talk about that. Can we talk about that? Mm-hmm. He says it's from the movie Graffiti Bridge. I know that. He says it means what it means to you. He says, Thieves in the Temple. It feels like something sacred that's been stolen or taken away. And he's talking about, okay, so then he shows me the record companies and how you feel like a piece of property. He says, you just feel like you're owned by everyone. He says, like everybody wants a piece of you. And he says, and the sad thing is they have it. They have it. He says, I want to talk about, he says, not just emancipation, but he says, your words, Bridgette, you would say sovereignty. I would say emancipation. What do you need to be emancipated from? What do you need self-authority in your life? Where? What part of your life do you need self-authority? Where are you shackled? He says. Where are you not just held back, but you are imprisoned, he says. You can be imprisoned by your past. You can let other people's opinions and views dominate you. You can trade your self-respect and your dignity for someone else's attention, and it's temporary. Prince in the afterlife. You can trade your self-respect and your dignity for someone's attention, and it's temporary. That sounds like lyrics. And it's temporary. Wow. Doesn't that sound like lyrics? He says it's a gift, you know. He says it's a gift. He says, you've been given a life. He says, and it's a gift. It's a gift. He says, it's like you won the lottery. Why don't people walk around acting like they've won the lottery? And he says, oh, because life is hard and you struggle and you're in pain and it hurts. And he says, whether it's like physical pain or emotional pain, or he says, everybody's in pain. Everybody feels pain. He says, that doesn't make it okay. He's like, I'm not saying it's right. He says, but it's not, it's just part of the whole of everything. He says, it's part of everything. It's not supposed to be one or the other. It's supposed to be balanced. He says the pain isn't supposed to be dominant. The pain is not supposed to own you. If your pain owns you, you are a slave. You are under the rule of something else that is not healthy and it will kill you. It will crush your spirit. It will take over your mind, and it will make you confused, and you will not be clear, and you will not be able to make positive choices, to make the changes you need to be a healthy, positive person that contributes. And instead, you're going to be a person that destroys other people. And he's literally showing me hurt people hurt people. It's like that phrase, that hurt people. People who are hurt are the ones that are hurting people. And he says, you can't blame anybody else. When you recognize that there is an imbalance here, when there is a problem, and you just do nothing about that. If you do nothing, then you are going to get what you get. You are going to be stuck with that until you choose something else. And he says, see, the problem is, he says, see, Bridgette, see here, Bridgette. He says, see here. The problem is too many people wait for something else to change when really it's them that needs to change. You need change. He says, my life was all about change. It was always about change. Okay, but Prince, you seem to me, from our conversations that we have had, you really seem like you were driven by this need for love or approval. It almost seems like you were trying to, it seems like you were trying to get something. And once you got close to that sweet spot, you received it and then it was done. It was short-lived and then you had to try again. It kind of how it seems like to me. He says, that's the creative process, Bridgette, you're talking about. He says, what you're talking about is like this vortex of creation. And in this vortex of creation, he says, it's like a spiral, like a funnel. Kind of things start really big. There's a lot of stuff, and that kind of comes down. It gets really finite. And then it's gone. He says, like an hourglass, like when you watch the sand kind of drop. An hourglass, and when it's gone, it's gone. It's not here anymore. It's done. It's passed through your hands. It's over. The time is over. And he says, chasing that feeling of the moment when it's here and it's present and you have it and you can hold it and you can touch it and you know it's really special. Yeah, I'm probably guilty of that. Yeah. Well, did you ever achieve presence? Did you ever actually feel that? He's like ecstasy. Euphoria is the word he uses, actually, like a euphoric kind of state. He says yes, actually. He said yes. He says yes. But it's not what you think. It's in music. It's at that moment when everything comes together in the melodies. Everything comes together. The instruments, the rhythm, the beats, the words, everything just syncs up. And he says it starts with the vibration of the individual instruments, the different tones and the melody. He says it starts with that. And then the words kind of bring a connection into where the mind then can be part of the melody, the harmonization. He says it's really this, it's so zen, you guys. It's kind of like it's a balance. It's this really sweet spot where there's just this peaceful balance and it's just this harmony and this flow, this really flowing exchange. He says that's what it is. That's this like euphoric, just this, it's not, he says it's like a blissful peace, a blissful harmony. It's just like this really kind of almost feeling of floating. He says it's just this beautiful, it feels, and I want to use the word, I personally want to use the word joy, but it's not like, yay, it's not like that. It's like this, wow. It's just this like, and he says, you know it's good. It's the sweetness, this just is so sweet. It's very sweet. Sweetness, sweet was almost one of my words of the year, actually. I don't know if it was this year or last year. I think it was last year. Interesting. Yeah, I can feel what you mean by that. There's kind of like this place where you get into that you know it's really something. He says, yeah. He says, and that will stand all time. That's a lyric. Okay. So Thieves in the Temple. And he says, finding the truth in what is sacred. He says, life isn't just all about pain. we write a lot. He says we write a lot about pain, and we use music as medicine to alchemize it. And he says integrate it. I say alchemize it. He says integrate it. Music is medicine. He says, we try so hard to understand these experiences that we have, and then to put it into words where other people can understand, where it can touch them, where maybe it can shift something inside them and make their day easier, make their heartache lessen, make their loss feel less brutal or gruesome, so that they can actually get out of bed and move through the day. He says, it's like a scorecard. He says, there's like this scorecard of how much pain we have. And he says, everybody carries it and they like compare the scorecards. Like what's par? What's on par? I say, what's on par? He's like not at all interested in golf, but it's like, what's on par for pain? Like what's the norm? What's usual? And anything above that is, a really big deal. But he says, it's not the pain. It's not the trauma you have. It's how you carry it. And then finding a place within yourself where you can kind of find that sweet spot of balance between the love and the healing and the pain and the suffering, he says. Because life isn't all about the sorrows or the tragedies, he says. It seems like that's something that comes really to the forefront, because that is what so often music is about, those hard, difficult times, and getting through those and surviving them and finding some kind of love or peace, or like that there's some kind of reward in the pain. And he says, pain just is. It just is. It just is. And nobody can take it away, he says. Nobody can fix it. It's something you just, he says, that you live with. You learn to manage it through balance and harmonizing the pain. And some people do that with love. Some people do that with creative endeavors or projects with music. And some people do that with addiction, or by using other people or vices to help distract them from the pain. Because it can be just too much, overwhelming, he says. There's no judgment there. He's saying there's no judgment there, but that's how I feel. So that's what I know, he says. That's what I know. Okay, so is there a particular reason why you've been showing up? He says, the change, Bridgette, the change in you. I'm like, you mean because I had COVID for a couple weeks, like 3 weeks, and I felt like crap, like that? He said, no, he says, you've been brave to step out onto the path just to see what is possible or what is there. He says, you are not afraid to ask what the options are. What are my choices? To ask what they are. Not just assume you already know and that there's nothing more information-wise you need, but what are my choices now? What are they now from this perspective of me as Bridgette here today? And so too can you do that with your life. So he's showing me that. It's like this feeling of a crossroads, but not something that's dire or intense or like, oh my God, I'm at the end of the road and I have to go this way or this way. It's like, no, I'm at a road that keeps going straight forward, forward. And also I can go to the right or to the left. It's up to me. You too, my friend, have the same reflection in your life. With something that you're dealing with, you have 3 viable options. And it's not about fixing it, and it's not about answers, and it's not about the right door number 3 where the car is. It's not that. It's not that. It's just taking a step, checking it out, seeing what the view is like. That's all. It's like investigating, being open to see. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Prince. I appreciate it so much. It's so weird. I'm in Seattle, Washington, and I'm channeling Prince. Oh, crazy. All right. Thanks for being here. Thank you for being here. I hope I've inspired your spirit and filled you with hope, encouraged you to live your life. This is your life after all, and you get to live it. Just live it. If you'd like to have a session with me, you might want to book one. Get on my schedule. There is a link to book your sessions below. Thanks for being here.